The mid to late 80s was a time of change. The essence of masculinity within Western society had a new face for all the young teenage men. Ultra-masculinity. The ideal man within the 80s had to be strong, powerful, and overly masculine, with the ideals that emotion was a sign of weakness, and weakness was wrong. As seen throughout the films around this period, it is evident that these themes were a trend. During this era, men weren't meant to cry. They were portrayed as superheroes that enabled them to walk through showers of incoming bullets and somehow walk away without a scratch. This is contrasted by the very emotional men of the 1970s, as second-wave feminism triumphs gender roles. The 80s represented a backlash with ultra-masculine men, who always save the day in a shootout or some extravagant explosive ending, with them winning the beautiful girl back and saving the lives of helpless civilians, with good crushing evil.
You really an American? Only if New Jersey counts.
John Rambo was innocent.
I'm warning you, boy, don't make a move.
These themes portrayed an authoritative male with godlike attributes. For the average teenage boy and young men of this time, these were their idols. Everybody wanted to have the power associated with the buff image of what men were meant to be like, as non-emotional and strong individuals. These issues portray identity problems for the average male who wants to win girls over and be the hero everybody looks up to, when in reality, these hopes for that image are far-fetched fantasies.
200 men against your boy is a no-win situation for us.
You send that many, don't forget one thing.
What?
A good supply of body bags. Sylvester Stallone. You have never seen him like this before. First Blood, from the best-selling novel.
Marvel Comics, founded in 1939 with DC Entertainment, is the world's most successful comic book company. DC stands for Detective Comics. The detective-themed superheroes changed shortly in the 80s with characters that become an experimental killing machine, which borderlines what it means to be the good guy. Comic books were an obsession for teenage boys and young men who could get lost in a story of an adventure with their favorite superheroes. During this era, comic books took on a darker theme, with anti-heroes being portrayed with the likes of Wolverine and the Punisher. These fictional characters aided the false underlining factor these were purely fiction. However, for the young men viewing this material and seeing these images of strong masculinity with men that have superpowers through films and the media, it created a very hopeful identity for what men would like to be.
Walk in here and put a gun in my face. I'm trying to get a manicure. I have
It's a
witnesses.
good learning experience, at least for me. I want to be a lawyer. But you don't need to be doing this.
In comparison to the 1980s peak of ultra-masculinity, of guns, explosions, and fearless superhumans, the 1990s was a very different time for film and the portrayal of men and their identity. The 90s saw the beginning of the metrosexual, a new age type of man who spent more time with his family and helped out around the home, doing household duties that were previously believed in earlier decades to be gender-related. Men now show emotion and were freely expressing their feelings, and would you believe it or not, they actually cried now too. The change is quite interesting. Masculinity was viewed in a different light, and it meant that society began to change with these ideals as cinematically films were made to suit the current trends within society, to relate to similar topics that viewers were experiencing within that period.
I already said that.
Mel, I want to help out Mel.
No, wait, back up. Let me start earlier. For 6 months.
This is when Fight Club came into cinemas in 1999.
With insomnia, nothing's
Identity was very strongly portrayed throughout the film.
far away.
This identity not only targeting masculinity, but in society as a whole, that society is becoming a continuous robotic system, feeding capitalism and taking away the true aspirations we all have. Edward Norton multiple times in the film is on the search for Tyler Durden, and he is Tyler, which emphasises the identity crisis and its relevance to men of this era. During the late 70s and early 80s, divorce rates escalated, reaching their peak in 1981, leaving many children with a single parent for the first time of their upbringing. It is argued that the change in masculinity as a whole has been affected by men who have been solely raised by women through their childhood when their fathers haven't been around or simply career-driven. The alter ego, Tyler Durden, Edward Norton's subconscious, if you will, creates a club for everyday males who are living out their lives on the corporate train to the so-called American dream, which led many to believe where if you try hard enough, you'll make it no matter what circumstance. The average middle-class male of this era was equipped in a similar sense to Edward Norton with consumer goods that become an extension of who they are. Within the 90s, it was the time of the new man, where masculinity was different than it was in previous years. Men cared how they looked and became a contributor to consumerism.
Not the contents of your wallet. You're not your fucking khakis. You're the all-singing, all-dancing crap of the world.